Hello, and welcome to another live stream. So it's not looking good. I'm not going to lie, it's not looking good. Blue sky, dirty water, and I'm trying a new location, which is a bit of a gamble to tell the truth. Let me just come around behind the camera. So that's what I've got framed up at the moment. And yeah, there's really not a lot going on. So even around where the sun is, spin around this way. Not a lot going on at all. Okay. And that happens. You can't always ask for an epic sunset. Okay, so we're going to make do with what we've got. Let me know what the volume's like. Make sure that I'm coming through okay. Now, there are lots of waves, so I'm going to try not to talk over the waves too much. Can hear you okay, still looks good though, good. Ultimate Dogs, hey, how are you? Thank you for joining. So yeah, look, it's one of those nights. Sound and picture is great. Oh, good, good. Let me know if I start to get a little bit loud because it is quite noisy out here. There's a lot of wave noise. So I might try and talk too loud at some stage. G'day, Matt, how are you? No wind around at the moment, which is not ideal. Picture's good, good. Hello, Leslie, how are you? Sounds good. Yeah, good. We've got a few people in here, so that's nice to see. Because I dare say, are we reading the chat a fair bit? Because there really isn't a lot going on. There's a little bit of cloud over on the horizon, and it's actually a little bit hazy. A little bit of haze in the sky, which will be good once that sun gets low. Ultimate Dogs finally made it to one live. Yeah, well done. I was umming and ahhing whether I should do it tonight because the forecast isn't great. But what we're going to do is, yeah, we're going to make do with what we've got. And kind of the plan for this was, it happens a lot when you go on holidays and you get to a location you've never been to before. So you're not planned, you don't have a plan. So we're going to basically wing it and see what we can come up with what we've got. Okay. Big fog this morning, yes, there was. I hope there's some fog tomorrow because I might even get up early tomorrow and get out and get some fog. I don't have a lot of fog shots and I really need to get some. So I've had a bit of a scout around and yeah, look, there's not a lot going on here. This tree, I think this is probably the best composition that I can find at this stage. We've got an incoming tide, so high tide's not for another hour and a half. So we're going to be working against the tide, which might actually help because as the tide comes in, the waves will get bigger. So at the moment, I've put an ND64 filter on just to smooth out that water a little bit. Okay, it's still very bright at the moment. The sun's a good half an hour away from sunset. And anyone who's watched my videos, I will definitely be hanging around for Blue Hour. Okay, because as you can see, not a lot going on in the sky at the moment. So we're going to shoot away from the sun. We don't want to be shooting into the sun when there's no cloud there. If it hazes over later and that sun gets closer to the horizon, it might be okay. There are some good waves out here. There are some good waves. It's quite rough to tell the truth. It's, usually happens with the high tide. The high tide, we get the big waves wrap around the island and come in. So anyway, I'm going to start taking some photos and just see what we've got. So the plan is I'm working with this tree. This tree, that's what I've got to work with. I'm going to have some water crashing over the rocks in my foreground. The main thing I'm kind of worried about is my midground. I've got all that dry rock there, which isn't going to make for a really nice midground. So in other words, I need to get down low to try and cut that out as much as possible. Now, it's pretty grippy around here. That's the first thing I do is just check how much grip we've got. And yeah, incoming tide, as I mentioned in the last stream, with an incoming tide, actually this is nice here, with the incoming tide, you're usually walking over dry rocks. And when the rocks first get wet, they're usually pretty grippy. It's the outgoing tide where everything's had a good soak. So, yeah, I like what I've got going on here. I'll bring the camera over so we can have a look. Okay, I love rocks and waves. Rocks, waves and a tree, and you almost can't go wrong. So let me bring you over and show you what I've got framed up. Good to see some waves. Definitely good to see some waves. So as you look how quickly that tide's coming in. I was just standing in the dry patch before. So I'm not going to bring the camera over too far. So this is what I've got framed up. We've got a nice little rock in our foreground, and I'll sort of get down to the height that we're at. Okay, so I'm going to have that rock in the foreground. See, just by getting down low, we eliminate that mid-ground. So being up high, we get all this mid-ground in here, which I don't want. Okay, so by getting down nice and low, we eliminate that mid-ground and give us a little bit more water. Okay, so somewhere down there. Okay, and I'm just going to get the waves crashing over that rock. I will probably offset it a little bit just to get the composition a little bit better, kind of like a bit more, have that rock as a leading line out to the tree. So something like that looks nice. I'll try and get the sun out of my shot. But this is kind of what I'm working with at the moment. And as the tide comes in, we should get some water rushing over those rocks, which will look nice. So yeah, when the sun's like this, it's high, there's no cloud. I don't like shooting straight into the sun. So even that looks nice, how we can kind of frame up the tree with a few rocks on either side. So let me get my first shot for the day and see if it's actually any good. And yeah, look, we can't always go out on a perfect day, but I'd rather be out here on a day that's not perfect than sitting at home hoping the cloud doesn't roll in and it does turn nice. Done that plenty of times. Sit at home, think, no, clear skies, and then all of a sudden, sunset comes, and you wish you were there. So, all right, so I'm just going to frame this up. Sorry for all the camera movement. G'day, Crusher, how are you? Are you out tonight anywhere? I'm in Point Vernon again, but it's a different location to normal. So I've just sort of pushed around a little bit further than where I normally go. Yeah, just trying something new. And that's kind of the whole point of this video, was to wing it. Okay, so we can't always plan our shots. If we go away to a new location, sometimes you just got to go and see what's there. And work with what you've got. So like I said, nice big rock here in the foreground, tree in the background. We're starting to get some cloud on the horizon, which is looking nice. All right, need to remember not to talk too loud. There's lots of waves here. Okay, so I'm planning on that ½ second shutter to get all this movement over the rocks. And again, people that know me know I love my ½ second shutter speed for water movement. So that's what I'm aiming at, ½ second shutter speed. Aperture I'm going to take down to f9 at this stage. I'm going to focus on the tree in the background. F9 will give me big enough depth of field to get that tree and the foreground in focus. Okay. The only time I really focus stack is when I've got something really close to the camera. So in this case, it's not super close to the camera, so we're fine. Okay. So I've got it all framed up. Yeah, look, it doesn't look great, to tell the truth. Let me get down a bit lower. Come some waves now. Let's just get a little bit more in the middle. There, let's wait for this wave to come in. And there's our first shot. And yeah, that's not bad actually. It's not bad. Okay, so I'm deliberately underexposing because I've got the sun creeping into the side of the lens. So by underexposing, we're just going to stop that sun from blowing out. And yeah, this camera, it's a full frame, it's a Canon 6D. And I can pull back all that shadow detail pretty easily. Yeah, that's right. Starting to get some cloud on the horizon, so it's getting there. So now I'm just watching the waves. I want some waves crashing over these rocks. And again, by getting down low, I'm cutting out all that mid-ground. As the tide pushes in, these waves will get a little bit bigger. So I might just leave that there for a second. Let's go and get the camera in. So yeah, welcome to another live stream in Hervey Bay. What's going on here? My screen's dulled down quite a bit. G'day Pam, how are you? Looks like it's a lovely afternoon. And it's one of those things, isn't it? Like it's perfect weather. There's no wind, blue skies. It's probably 20 odd degrees at the moment. Shorts and t-shirt weather. It's a perfect day, but for us landscape photographers, it's horrible. Go figure. Okay, but yeah, look, we're going to make do with what we've got. I'm pretty confident we will get a little bit of action. Starting to get a bit of cloud over there on the horizon. So hopefully, once we get a bit closer to sunset, yeah, so now we've got those waves crashing over the rocks. So that's sort of what I want. So I'll stop chatting and you're lucky the rain has finally cleared. Yeah, it's been pretty wet here in Hervey Bay the last week. It's been very wet. And the water's filthy. The water's very dirty at the moment. If the water was clear, I'd consider putting on a Polaroid filter just to cut through the glare. But yeah, the water's got a bit of a brown tinge after all that rain. So no need for a Polaroid filter when we can't see through the water anyway. Okay, so just going to wait for another wave to come in. I want those waves crashing over the rocks. But yeah, it is a beautiful afternoon. The weather's definitely on the improve. It's just not quite big enough. Yeah, weather's definitely getting better. The nights are getting warmer. If Matt's still in the chat, we just need a little bit of wind and we'll all be happy. Okay, here comes a wave now. I'll just get that one as it crashes. Yeah, look, it's like I said, nothing epic at the moment. But yeah, look, good time to experiment. Good time to experiment, play around, just try different things. Not going to get too many shots in that one spot. The composition, it's okay. It's nothing too exciting. I think as we come back here, I think we've got a nice leading rock here, which might make a little bit better leading line for me. And I'll show you a cool little trick if this wave doesn't do it for me. There's a little bit of dry rock just here. Now, if we take a photo of that dry rock, we can improve that 100% just by wetting it. Get some water on it, and then it goes all nice and shiny, and it will look a lot better with a nice shine on it. Okay, so I'm just going to frame that one up as well. Yeah, that's looking good. So again, I'm still at that half a second. I'll probably wind it out to an 1/8 of a second just because the waves are nice and slow. Just come back a tad. That's actually not too bad. That's pretty good. Let's get that wave crashing in. It's okay. Get the wave as it runs out. And that's okay. Yeah, like I said, not the most epic at the moment. But yeah, look, we're not at sunset yet, so it will only get better as the tide comes in. But yeah, nice golden glow on the rocks here. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on. I want this golden glow with the tree and just a little bit of sky. Okay, because there's nothing happening in the sky, we don't need to have too much sky in the shot. If we had lots of colour up there and some nice big clouds, I'd include more sky. Where are we up to? Crusher, good. No, not today again. Other commitments. Yeah, look, there's always other things, isn't it? Especially on a Friday night. And yeah, same. I do like a bit more cloud. I just wanted to get out, to tell the truth. Just wanted to get out and come and have a look. But yeah, definitely would like some more cloud. There's a little bit there. So when I'm framing up my shot, I'm kind of having about that much sky in my shot and really just concentrating on foreground. Okay, so as I've mentioned a few times in the past, that if there's not a lot going on in the sky, there's no point having all of that nothing up there. Okay, so really concentrate on your foreground. Have a little bit of sky, just kind of cut it off where you've got a little bit of colour. And get lots of foreground interest. And yeah, if you can get your shutter speed at that half a second, between half a second and 1 second, you get some really nice textures in the water. So it can make for an interesting foreground. Reflections are nice too. You can always work with reflections when there's no waves around. The waves kind of kill the reflections a little bit. But yeah, look, it's looking at, like I said, it's a beautiful evening. It's not the best evening for landscape photography, but it's just nice to be out. Okay, so yes, some bigger waves would be nice. So what I'm going to do now is just go into portrait orientation, because everything's kind of flowing that way. Okay, so I've got the rocks in the foreground, so my shot is kind of leading me this way. There's not a lot going on either side. So by just changing into portrait, what we can do is get a lot more foreground and then have a tree and just a little bit of sky there. So into portrait mode, let's just see where we're at. I would like some nice bigger waves. Let's just brighten it a bit so I can see. Yeah, that's not too bad. Let's get in. So this is where focus stacking can come in, because I'm getting in really close to this rock now. And I'm going to show you what I've got framed up. If you can see it. Getting really close, so somewhere around about there. Let's go and have a look. I'll show you what I've got framed up. Getting some nice colour on the water. Yeah, it's actually not too bad. We've got that. The sun, like I said, the sky's pretty hazy, so it's giving us a real nice golden glow, to tell the truth. And because the water's, it's a little bit milky, so it's really sort of amplifying everything that's going on. So that's what I've got framed up. Let me see if I can just brighten it up a bit so you can see it better. Okay, so see, I've got a lot of foreground leading back off into the tree, and then just minimal sky. Okay, so when you don't have a lot going on in the sky, just concentrate on foreground. Okay, and we do have an interesting fall. We've got that nice side light, nice golden glow, some waves crashing over. There's a lot going on, just not in the sky. Watching these lives have been super helpful. Oh, thanks for that. That's and that's the point of them, just to give some tips, really. The real reason is just so I've got an excuse to go and take photos, but yeah, look, and that's the whole point of the lives, is give you more of an insight on the way I think about taking the shots, rather than just turning up, pointing the camera and shooting. Kind of think about the location, think about the sky, think about what the weather's doing. If it was really windy, I'd probably be working with faster shutter speeds to freeze all that, the leaves, so we don't get blurry leaves. So lots of things to think about, and the more often I do it, we're going to come across different situations where I can kind of explain and talk through my thought process behind how I get the shot. And not every shot is going to be a winner, and that's one thing you've got to realise with landscape photography. Not every shot is going to be great, but if you can eliminate most of the bad shots and get a couple of really nice ones, it's all part of the learning process. Learn what works for you. Okay, so I'm going to do a bracketed exposure now. So what I'm going to do is I've focused on this rock. So I'm going to focus on that rock, take a nice long exposure in there. And then I'm going to focus on the tree, and then I'll focus on the background, and we'll do a bit of a focus stack. So I might save that for another YouTube video. And I'll show you on the back of the camera how I actually go through. And I focus manually. I don't use autofocus. I focus manually. So now I'm focusing on the tree. My first shot focused on the rock. Second shot focused on the tree. And then the third shot, well, I don't even need a third shot. That's focusing on that tree is enough depth of field to get everything in one shot. So basically 2 shots, one from a foreground, one from a background, and I'll blend them together. And it actually looks pretty cool. I'm quite happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to put my aperture up to f14 now. So that'll give me a longer shutter speed. Okay, so closing down the aperture is going to let less light in. So now I can get my shutter speed up to 10 seconds. And again, I'm just going to zoom in, focus on that rock in the foreground. I kind of like the composition I've got here, so I'm going to work with it a bit. So again, I focus on this rock in the foreground at 10 seconds. So I'll get that shot. And that's what we want. Water moving around rocks with a long exposure does make a really nice effect. And we're starting to get some colour, which is good. Okay, so that's the shot from a foreground. Now, looks so. Actually, I'm going to take another one because a little trick, and this is another video that I'm working on. If we could take 6 exposures at 10 seconds, blend them all together, and basically you get a 60-second exposure. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 exposures at 10 seconds. That'll give me a 30-second exposure once I blend them all together. And then I'll do one for our background and blend them together as well. Okay, so I've got my foreground now. I've got 3 exposures at 10 seconds. So I've essentially got a 30-second exposure for my foreground. And now I'm just going to focus on that tree, speed up my shutter speed to get our background all exposed correctly, and then we've got 4 shots that we can blend together. And this is where experimenting and just trying different things. Okay, because the sky is so boring, it's a good time to practice experimenting, practice focus stacking, practice multiple exposures, practice different compositions, get down low, get up high, different shutter speeds to get different movement in the water. So it's all part of the learning process, rather than just waiting for that epic sky and then you get out there and you think, oh, what am I going to do? Sort of work out what works for you, okay? And that's what it's all about. Work out what you like, and that's all that matters. Who cares what other people think? If you like your photos, that's all that really matters. Okay, I love rocks, I love trees. I do love a good sunset, but we work with what we've got. We've actually got some nice pastel-y colour out on that horizon. So, let's see if the phone picks that up. There's actually a few nice pastel-y sort of colours on that horizon. See, that mist or fog or whatever it is just kind of softening that sun a little bit, so it's not as harsh as a nice clear day. I love being able to see the beautiful sunset from the comfort of the lounge room. Yeah, it is a nice sunset. It is a nice sunset. Like I said, it's to most normal people that is a beautiful sunset. To us landscape photographers, there's not a lot going on, and it's one of those things, isn't it? A nice sunset to some is not a nice sunset to others. But there's no such thing as a bad sunset, really. If we're going to be serious, there is no such thing as a bad sunset. All right, so now that I've got that shot, I'm just going to, yeah, look, I had a bit of a walk around before. There's not a lot to work with here, so I'm just going to stick with this for now. And then we might head back over there a little bit later But yeah, I'm loving all this movement over the rocks in the water. Got a nice big rock out there as well, which I might be able to work with. The thing is, it drops down fairly deep. There's a little bit of a channel running through here, so I don't want to fall in. We might start to get the sun in some of our shots, to tell the truth. I'm just going to come around here a little bit. So still using these rocks as my foreground. Okay, so now it's more of a panorama shot. Okay, so now we want to be in landscape mode. We do want the tree, we want the sun. So now my scene is more of a landscape style rather than our portrait mode up and down. Now, what does it actually look like in camera though? Yeah, it's okay. It's not epic. We're getting closer to these rocks. And the trick is to not have too much of nothing in your foreground. That's actually nice. Where's that rock on that side? It's actually not too bad. Yeah, that sun is being really diffused by that light that's out there, so it's looking nice. It's looking nice. I'll show you what I've got framed up in a second. Let me just get that shot on it. Let me speed up my shutter speed a little bit. Let me get that half a second. I want some of those waves crashing over the rocks. There's a good wave. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that one. So all I'm doing now is working on foreground. I'm trying to get the shot that I want for my foreground. So I'm exposed for the foreground. I'm just waiting for those waves to sort of do what I want them to do. Fire up a few shots. Looking for a certain pattern in the water that I like. Okay, we'll get this one as it crashes over. Okay, here comes a good one as well. That whitewash makes it some interesting. There's kind of a dead space down here. By having that white water down here, it adds some lines through the water. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Let me show you what I've got lined up. That sun is looking pretty awesome at the moment, to tell the truth. Sort of wish I had a zoom lens. Let me show you what I've got framed up down here. We're definitely making something. I don't know whether it's good, but it's something. They're photos. So this is what I've got framed up. So look at that. That's pretty much what I've got framed up. So just got those rocks in the foreground, got the tree off to the right, and the sunset. So see how the sun's really diffused by that mist or haze or whatever it is, and then getting those waves crashing over the rocks. That's my composition, which it's okay. It's okay. It's working for me, and that's all that matters. I would love some more colour in the sky. Yeah, I don't want to bring this camera down too close, just in case we lose it. Now, how's my voice? I'm not getting too loud, am I? Because I feel like I'm trying to talk over these waves. Not breaking up and being all crackly, am I? Actually, let me spin this around so you can have a look at the sunset. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm framing up, roughly. Sound is perfect. Oh, good. Thanks for that. So, yeah, look, we've got enough in the sky to make it slightly interesting. Right now, I'm going to get that sun as it sets, so bear with me. Right on sunset. And again, I'm going to widen my aperture out to f18 and try and get that starburst as it goes over the horizon. It's something I always do. Always try and get that starburst while you can. Because as the sun's right on the horizon, you can get a really nice starburst. Just put your aperture down as small as it'll go, or the biggest number it'll go. F22 does work well, but I just don't like shooting at f22. Not with this lens. Everything just goes a bit soft. So yes, thank you to everyone who's here at the moment. Oh, that's really nice. That's a really nice shot. Let me just come back. Just about lost that sun now, and I got it just before it disappeared. There's some really nice leading lines going on here. So again, I'm going to bring you down soon. And now that the sun's set, our exposure is just perfect. Okay, everything's well exposed. Now that nice soft light. Currently at 5-second exposure. Let me go and grab the camera and I'll just show you how I've reframed this up without slipping over. Yeah, a bit of grip on these rocks. It's all about being safe, to tell the truth. Does the starburst get stronger the longer the... Yes, it does. Yeah, so the longer you expose, the brighter the starburst will get. So what I do is I push my histogram as far to the right as I possibly can, that it just starts to clip. So once it just starts to clip, that's when we know that our starburst is going to be nice. Okay, so let me just show you the last couple of shots. So that's what we've got framed up. Okay, so as you can see, we're kind of working with that classic rule of thirds. And rule of thirds, it's there for a reason. It does work quite well, especially when you've got some foreground, you've got some trees and not a lot going on in the sky. Okay, so nice long exposure to smooth out that water. So pretty happy with them, to tell the truth. And yeah, just eliminate as much of the sky as you can when there's not a lot going on in there. So as you can see, the higher up we go, there's nothing. So we just need enough sky to see that little bit of orange glow, and then really concentrate on our foreground. Okay, the foreground is going to be the star of the shots. So find some nice rocks, even if you're not at the beach, just find some plants or some flowers, just something to have in your foreground when you've got a boring sky. Okay, because foreground can really improve your shot. And now we're getting to that stage where I will start to get some nice longer exposures. The sun is well and truly set. Okay, ultimate dogs, thank you. I haven't really experienced with that yet. Experimented. Yeah, look, experiment with it. So the idea is that you put your aperture as small as it'll go, so the large number, so an f22, anywhere between f22 to f16. And once that sun hits the horizon, it's just kind of peeking over the horizon, you should get a starburst. Even if you like go down to a pier of a night time, anywhere that you've got lights, it will work with any sort of light. It doesn't have to be the sun, it will work with street lights. Lights on the pier always look nice with a starburst. So yeah, give that a bit of an experiment. Tried at f18. F18 is kind of that sweet spot where you still get a nice sharp picture and your starburst. And yeah, you do want to clip your hull. You want to almost not overexpose the image, but really have that histogram as far to the right as you can. So your starburst is a nice bright white star. Okay, I'm just going to go back and take some more shots while we've got a little bit of colour, and then we'll start to prepare for blue hour. So I'll let you watch me as I go and do this. And hopefully I'm not talking too loud. I feel like I'm raising my voice to talk over these waves. Right, here we go. So now we've got some nice pastel-y colours in the sky. Yeah, look, it's getting the most out of the location that you've got. And I can guarantee you, if you can get rocks, waves, and a couple of trees, or even just bush, these are just mangrove bushes almost, you can get some pretty cool shots. Yeah, let me grab my camera before it decides to wash away. Just get a couple more. I really want that rock. That rock behind me. Really nice. So we're going to go for a 15-second exposure now. Probably should have bought my bigger tripod. I've got a bigger, heavier, dutier tripod. Heavier, dutier. So that's a real word. I invented that, heavier, dutier. Because yeah, even like these waves are enough to give a little bit of movement. Okay, yeah, the tide's getting too high. It's kind of covering those rocks at the moment, so we'll move here. Yeah, once the tide gets too high and covers those rocks, you're sort of like, this one here looks really nice. But again, there's a big drop off behind me. I don't want to stand down there, but that would make some really nice foreground. Let me just see if I can get over here. Leave it on the edge here, I can tell you that. Got to get the shot though. Now, look, I'll take this shot and I'll show you why this doesn't work. Get in a bit closer, I might be able to make it work. Make sure your tripod's nice and solid, which this one isn't. Make sure your tripod doesn't move too much. And yeah, look, I'm going to say this shot doesn't work, but it just might. Let's see how that comes out. I'm going to get a wet bum. Yeah, I've got nothing going on in the sky now. I've lost all that colour. And now really is just a matter of waiting for blue hour. Oh, that wave got me. Yeah, look, like I said, this shot isn't going to work, but it looks good. I'll show you the shot soon. Just having that nice big foreground interest, having something in our midground and then our sky. And that's kind of the key to a really nice seascape or landscape, is having foreground, midground and a background. Now, we definitely don't have the background today because the sky's not doing a lot. But we've got a strong foreground. I'm going to overexpose this one just to get a nice 30-second exposure. So you can see it a bit better on the back of the camera. And I'm always refocusing, so that's one thing you can't see, but I'm always refocusing. So I'm pretty close to this rock, so I'm doing my foreground exposure on this rock, and then I'm refocusing on the background and getting another shot for the background. If I wasn't so close to this rock, I'd just do it in one shot. But yeah, I'm very close to this rock, so our depth of field is sort of that borderline. If I focus on the rock, the background will be blurry. If I focus on the background, the rock will be blurry. Okay, so I've got that rock, so now I'm just going to refocus into the background, expose for my sky, underexpose a bit, and then I better get out of here. The tide's getting pretty high, pretty quick. Yeah, nice. All right, let me come and show you. Show you what I've got. Yeah, these rocks are nice and grippy. Always be careful when you're on wet rocks. Okay, these ones are not too bad. Usually at low tide, once you get down on the rocks at low tide, that's where the mud sort of sits. But these ones, they've been out in the sun all day. It doesn't get really muddy up here. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you the shot that I got then. Okay, what's happening in the chat? All good. Leslie, looking like a real beach with the background waves rolling in. It does. There's some nice waves. For Harvey Bay, there's actually some nice waves. There was a couple of dudes out here surfing last night. So yeah, it's sort of, there's obviously lots of wind around up north or out west that's pushing all these waves in. Well, I ought to copyright that. I was at, God, I can't remember what I said. I talk shit sometimes. But yes, so there's my last shot. So just basically overexpose the sky to get that nice foreground. 30-second exposure. And then I've taken another exposure for my sky. And then what I'll do is I'll blend those two together. Okay. This first shot, I've tried to expose everything in one shot. So as you can see, the foreground's very dark. Still can be done. Okay. You can still get all that detail back in one exposure, but I just like to really amplify my foreground with that 30-second exposure, and then get another one for the sky. And look, I love the process of editing. I think editing is fun. Okay? I love taking photos more than editing, but I do like the editing process, or as I call it, the development process. Because that's what we're doing. We're developing our photos. We're not taking them to Kodak Express and getting them to just print it out. We're actually developing them ourselves. So we're deliberately capturing all the information that we need. We're capturing our highlights. We're capturing our shadows. And we're developing the photo to how it should look. Because as you can, like, just as a quick example, if I spin this camera around, okay, so this is just an iPhone camera, but even this camera is picking up so much more detail than what a RAW file will pick up, okay, because the camera, it's doing its own little processing, okay, so it's pulling in some shadow detail, it's pulling back some highlight detail, it's doing that in camera, okay. A RAW file, it doesn't do that in camera, it is literally a RAW file, so your JPEGs will look a little bit nicer, especially if you've got your JPEG set up for dynamic range, noise reduction, sharpening, all that sort of thing. Then you can get away with a lot more with one shot. But yeah, I enjoy the process of getting what I want and then having some fun with it in Lightroom. Okay, so what are we doing? Okay, it's getting to that stage now where, see how these rocks are they're a bit too far underwater. So I've lost all my foreground interest. So we might go for a bit of a walk and see what we can find for when blue hour kicks in. So yeah, bear with me if I don't talk for a while. I'm going to attempt to concentrate on walking across some rocks and finding something. I do have a spot that I can go to. I was there last night. Oh, what was that? Something crawling on my hand. Oh, it's a huntsman. Where'd he come from? It's had a huntsman crawling on my hand. I should rescue him. I just flicked him on the ground. And then just grab the tripod. Uh-oh. Sorry, huntsman, I think you've just become fish food. I tried to get him. I don't like that. I tried to rescue him, and yeah, natural reaction to flick something off when you feel it crawling up your arm. Yeah, there's going to be a happy fish out there somewhere. All right, let's go and find somewhere to get our next shot. Now, just checking that I've got everything, and then we'll move on. Like even just these rocks, yeah, they could work. I like to just have some trees or bushes or something in my shot. We'll go for a bit of a walk. We're not far off blue hour. We don't really have a lot going on, to tell the truth. But if anyone saw the shot that I popped up onto Facebook earlier today, it was very similar to, there was absolutely nothing going on in the sky. Once you get that blue hour, you do get that nice orange and purple glow in the sky. So it can be quite nice. Okay, so just as we're walking, this is a sort of foreground that I don't find interesting. I'd rather have something, a strong foreground interest. Usually just a lone rock a leading line, not just a big clutter of rocks. So as you can see, this is just kind of like a big messy foreground. So I'm going to go and try and find something a bit more isolated. A lone rock, a lone tree, a nice little rock pool, just something that's not so messy. For anyone who comes to my classes, they know all about messy and distractions, like a nice clean shot. Keep your photos clean and they look nicer. And it's not easy to do. It's one of those things that it does take a lot of practice to get a nice clean shot, especially in a place like this. Okay, there's lots of rocks. There's a lot going on. Trying to find a nice clean composition is not the easiest thing in the world. Just takes practice. All right, so there's something that's kind of interesting. And the fact that my arms are killing me from carrying all this. Okay, so now we're heading into blue hour. See how we've got that nice blue tint, the orange glow. We're starting to head into blue hour. And I love it. I love blues and oranges, and yeah, it makes for a really nice shot. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by a strong foreground. Okay, so what I don't want is all of that over to the left. Okay, so over to the left, that's mess. If we spin around this way, let me get down a little bit lower. Okay, so we've got some nice big solid rocks without all that mess over this side. Okay, so that's what I mean by a nice clean foreground. Okay, we'll probably even incorporate that little mangrove tree into it. So yeah, we've just got like two nice big solid rocks and not a cluttered, messy foreground. Okay, and look, it's all personal preference. That's what I like. That's what I like. I'm not saying it's what you should be doing, but give it a try. You'll find that nice clean photos, I just think they do look better. Having a nice solid foreground rather than having too much going on, especially when the sky's not doing a lot. What is your go-to landscape lens? My go-to landscape lens is the Canon 17-40. 17-40 f4 matte. The calm rock pools look nice. The calm rock pools look very nice, to tell the truth. And I will probably get a couple of reflections a little bit later, because I do like the reflections in these rock pools. Just trying to find one that's isolated can be a little bit tricky around here. Now at low tide, there's some really nice rock pools just out along there. Some really good rock pools. But yeah, rock pools and reflections, they're another thing that I do like. So yeah, go-to lens, a Canon 17-40. On a full frame, it's essentially a wide angle. So on a crop sensor, you'd be looking at a 10-20 mil. And yeah, look, it all depends. I also have a 24-105 that I use pretty regularly, especially out at that lone tree. If you've seen the lone tree, I will generally take the 24-105 out there because there is no foreground. Okay, I find that when I'm working with foreground, I like to have that wide angle lens to amplify the foreground. Makes our foreground really stand out and gives you more sky to work with. So do you have a set lens crusher? Is there a lens that you use in particular? What's your favourite lens? Let me go and frame up a shot. We're into blue hour. We're into my favourite time of the night. Now these rocks are not too bad. And again, I'm just getting down low so I can get close to the rocks. I like to shoot nice and low. When you get bigger waves, I'll tend to shoot not so low. All right, and it's time to take my filter off. Yeah, I need to take my filter off. Everything's getting a bit too dark now. Bear with us while I take my filter off. Too busy talking. I'm missing my favourite time of the night. So yeah, while I'm doing this, I've really only used 3 filters. I've got, well, 4 to be honest. I have a circular polarizing, which I will usually use, especially with rock pools, just to cut out glare off the water. So if you think of a circular polarizer as if you've ever had a pair of Polaroid sunglasses, cuts the glare off the water so you can sort of see through the water a bit better. I have an ND8, which I kind of use in this sort of light when it's fairly dark and I just want to slow down that shutter even more. My ND64 is probably my go-to filter especially when you've got plenty of light. ND64 cuts out enough light to sort of give you that half a second exposure, which is probably my favourite exposure for Seascapes, that half a second. And then I've got the 10 stopper, the ND1000 10 stopper, which again, getting long exposures during the day, almost a must-have. So they're my filters that I use. I do have one of those variable filters, but I just don't like it. It was a cheap one, wasn't a good one. If I had bought a better one, it might be all right, but yeah, the cheap ones are probably not worth the effort. Okay. So there we go. Now we're into blue hour, and look at that. Get some oranges, some purples, and some blues. Let me go and grab a few more shots. And again, just a very simple foreground. Okay, I don't need too much sky. I'm framing it up so I've got some orange and some blue. I don't need all the blue directly above. So just framing it up so I've kind of got a layer of orange, a layer of purple, and a layer of blue, and then I kind of stop it as it turns blue, and the rest of my frame is this foreground. Okay, and that's not too bad a shot actually. Let's get my ISO down to low because we've still got a fair bit of light there. Okay, so now this is where multiple exposures are almost a must. Let me show you the back of my histogram and show you why. When we get to this stage of the night, especially blue hour, that sky is so much brighter than the foreground. The phone's not going to give you the same view that the raw file will. The phone has a better dynamic range. It's doing some digital processing to bring down the highlights and lift the shadows, where a raw file doesn't. So let me show you my histogram and show you exactly how much dynamic range we have in this shot. Okay, so there's my first. So look at that histogram, and that is pushing both ways, left and right. So my shadows are clipped and my highlights are clipped. So to recover all that highlight or sky detail, let me just get my aperture back to where I want it. Okay, so I'm going to have to speed up my shutter speed to 4 seconds just to get some detail in the sky. If I want to get detail in that foreground, at 30 seconds, that's where we sort of get that detail in the foreground. Okay, so a massive dynamic range at this time of night. So this is where I definitely do my multiple exposures. I'm going to do one for my foreground and then one for my sky and blend them together. Just because a camera can't capture that sort of dynamic range without processing it, without editing. That looks amazing. It does look amazing, doesn't it? Blue hour. Love it. Okay, and you can always, whenever you've got a clear sky, you can always rely on blue hour to give you some colour. Always get colour on blue hour. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to wait for that. So now I've got my foreground exposure. All I'm going to do is speed up my shutter speed. Make sure that my histogram isn't flipping all the way to the right. Get it as close to the right as I can. Then take that shot from the sky. Okay. Because it's just, yeah, the phone doesn't really pick it up, but that sky is so bright compared to our foreground, where it's almost dark out here now. Okay, and there's my exposure for the sky. And then I'll just blend them two together. So I'll get the best of both worlds. I get all that detail in the foreground, get all that detail in the sky. And that's, yeah, look, it's not the greatest composition in the world, but it's something. It's a photo. I'm just going to recompose, just close that down. And another thing, I occasionally, especially here in Queensland, I turn my camera off quite regularly to clean the sensor, because you find that when it gets really hot, you're going to get lots of hot pixels. So just by turning your camera off every now and then, it can help with those hot pixels. And that's just a habit that I've sort of fallen into, that, yeah, just turning my camera off for a little bit, giving it a little rest, giving the sensor a clean, rather than just having it on the whole time. Okay, so Canon RP full frame, so 24-105. Yeah, nice. Look, the RP is a really good camera. Okay, in fact, that camera is better than what I'm using. The 6D is pretty old now, so the RP is, yeah, a very good camera. And yeah, full frame is, you're just going to get a lot more dynamic range. So you're going to get a lot more shadow detail, a lot more highlight detail. And yeah, the 24-05, that's wide enough. That's kind of, I do use that lens quite a bit. But yeah, when I'm really working on foreground, that's where the 17-40, absolutely love the 17-40. But yeah, no, nice camera, nice lens. And look, to be honest, there's no such thing as a bad camera these days. Every camera is good. Every camera, every lens, is sort of, all the manufacturers realise that if they want to compete, they've got to make good cameras. Okay, so you can almost guarantee any camera you buy these days, it's going to be better than what I've got, put it that way. It's lenses. If you really want to go that next level, the lens is what really makes a big difference. You can put the cheapest lens on the best camera and you're not going to get great shots, where you put the best lens on a cheap camera and you will get good shots. So it's that simple. Lenses are what give you your sharpness, wide angle. That's where you should be spending your money, on your lenses. In saying that, if Canon's listening, I am looking for a new camera. I think I'm ready to upgrade to mirrorless. Or is it really an upgrade though? Is going to mirrorless really an upgrade, or is it just a change of camera? I do love my SLR. But yeah, the new mirrorless cameras, the autofocus in them is amazing. When it comes to wildlife photography, I still use my Canon 7D for my wildlife photography, and that's a true dinosaur, that thing. Where your new mirrorless cameras, the autofocus in them it's bloody amazing, to tell the truth. It's one thing that's swaying my vote at the moment, is the autofocus systems in the new mirrorless cameras. So yeah, Canon, if you're listening, get in touch. After all, I am the #1 sunset streamer in Point Vernon. It's a known fact that I am the #1 streamer in Point Vernon. I'm probably also the worst, but we'll say that I'm currently the best. There's no one else getting the ideas. This is my thing. I don't need to be shown up by someone else. But we're getting really late now, so I think I might start to wind it up soon. I want to be able to see where I'm going on my way back. I've lost the composition. I think where I had that tree before was working really nice. This is okay. I'm taking shots for the sake of taking shots at the moment. So yes, thank you for everyone who joined in. Hopefully the audio levels were better. Like I said, the waves are quite loud. I feel like I'm kind of, every now and then I'm talking over waves. So I'll start to pack up while it's a little bit of light around. So yeah, thank you again. Thank you to everyone who popped in. It ended up being not the disaster I was expecting, to tell the truth. I think I got some good shots. You'll have to do live so that you can be number 2. Look, you might take my place. You might become the number 1 photographer in Point Vernon. I'll just move. I'll go down to Toogoom or somewhere. You can have, no, I want Point Vernon. Point Vernon's mine. All right, well, yeah, thank you again to everyone who's here. Father's Day present, yeah, that could be a go. Yeah, we're definitely losing that light now, so yes, thank you to everyone. Hopefully you got some tips out of it, and that's what it's all about, sort of get my mindset on how I get my shot. Okay, and like there is no wrong way of taking a photo. Okay, just lots of different ways. Do what you like, and that's all that matters. As long as you like your photos, don't care what anyone else thinks. All right, well, Claudia, thank you. Thank you. You're always in here. Yeah, Ultimate Dogs, thank you again. Matt, everyone, yeah, and Northerly tomorrow, I did see that. I'm out tomorrow afternoon. I've actually got a job on at 4 o'clock. So if the wind gets up early, I might head out. But yeah, thank you all again. If I missed anyone, I'm sorry. I'm still new to this live stream thing. So I'm getting there. I'm trying to keep an eye on everyone that's in here. So yep, thanks again. Thanks, Crusher. And I will sign out now, and stay tuned. I'll have some new videos up next week. Back to some editing videos, I think. I'll get back into doing some edits. All right, well, thanks again. Thank you to everyone that was here, and hopefully I'll see you soon.